if courtrooms had a brain and actually acted like humans, they would say to the father, you know what, you were in a relationship for 13 years. You chose to have a child with her. You got married to that person. Now you have to put up with that person because you have her child. You know, that is what a courtroom should say. If courtrooms were full of humans that acted and thought like humans, they would think, you know what, unless you've actually got real proof that she is a danger to you or a harm to you, if you've got any evidence whatsoever that she's going to take the child off you and run off, you know, if you've got any evidence, provide it. Now, unless you have those provided, you have no right to have a restraining order. None of these restraining orders that she has had should ever have been in place. And they have actually caused a huge amount of problems because she posted a picture of her son. She managed, after 3 years of trying to get access to the child, she managed to get it, only to find that social workers were using this as an opportunity to make £200 an hour off her. So she had 6 months of seeing him in a call centre every 2 weeks, only to find out afterwards that there was like a £5,000 bill or something like that. And I don't know if she actually paid it or not, because I think she just stopped seeing the child after that point and hasn't seen the child, or hasn't had any and hasn't had any calls or anything. You know, I know some people might be like, oh, he's taking the child, you know, he's looking after the child, he's being a responsible dad, you know, you should be glad that someone is there, because if he wasn't there, the child would be in care. No, if he wasn't there, the child wouldn't have been born. But you know, there's two sides. But on the bad side is that a father should not raise a child and think that it's fine to prevent the mother from having any contact and wanting to have no, you know, access, no rights, no nothing. And then to think that he's also on top of the abuse of stealing the child and saying, fuck off, you're not allowed to have it. He's allowed to get a restraining order that actually prevents her from contacting him, calling him, based on absolutely nothing. You know, I saw that stalker, where that stalker was stalking Stacey on EastEnders. You know, that guy was really harassing text messages, harassing this, harassing that, threatening and saying strange things, broke into her house, ripped her clothes up, you know, and even after all this, she was still not able to get a restraining order. So how come, you know, that's the sort of situation where you can get a restraining order? You have to have evidence that someone is a danger to you, someone's that not, you know, a danger to the child. You can't just say, oh, I think she is, so she is. You mean, if you say, I think she's a danger to me, I don't want her calling me, fine, that's fine. But if you've got that person's child, then none of these restraining orders there needs to be an exception. If you've got someone's child and you've got no evidence that person is a danger or a risk, or is, you know, she ran off to Brighton, she didn't make any attempt to come back, there was nothing. And George is just an evil, horrible, nasty bastard. Now, if people acted like people, they would actually try and have maybe counseling to get them to talk, to get them to communicate, to get them to work together. You know, if this would have happened, then she might have not gone off and had other kids with other people in mental hospitals, and she might have not gone down that path. She might have gone down a much better path if there would have been some sort of, you know, way of working out why the father wanted absolutely nothing to do with her. I mean, he just went from hot to cold. It was like, you're mine and I do everything and I just make all the decisions, or I want nothing to do with you and you're not having any contact. You know, he's a horrible, horrible person. And to just think that courtrooms just don't care. They don't care. I don't think my sister's a particularly nice person, but this is, it's what you would expect in a farm. You know, if the farmer decides that two animals should stay together, it should part and shouldn't be, you know, they say if they have children and the mother or the father wants to see the child and the farmer says no, you know, this is normal behavior. And I feel like the psychology of people who think that it's fine to not let a mother see her child, you know, I think the psychology of that is someone has to be coming from the farm industry. They have to be maybe a pig that's had children taken off them and never got to see them again, and then they died and they came back and also became a pig and also went through it, and then maybe the sheep and cows, and you know, actually sheep will be first and then cows. There's an order of intelligence, or which one I think pigs are probably the more intelligent ones actually. But yeah, there's, if you've gone through many lives in a farm and had your children taken off you, and then, you know, you never see them again, and then you become a human, and maybe you have just a life as a farmer, and then you die and you come back and have a life and say, you're right, this time I'm going to be a judge. You know, if you've gone through that kind of psychology, then you might think, oh yeah, it's fine that the father wants to look after the child, the father has the rights to have the child, because the reason why Sophie lost custody of this child was actually because of these restraining orders that never should have been on her in the first place. So, it's not that she did anything wrong. It's just that there was a restraining order that shouldn't have been in place, and it's caused her problems. And then they're using this lack of communication as an excuse for more lack of communication. And then they use that 3 year. Well, you haven't seen the child in 3 years, so we're going to make it 4 years. And now, oh, what? Another year? We're going to add another year? Why? Because the reason why this problem is getting bigger and bigger and longer is because it was a problem that the courts have created, and then using this the courts have created the problem by allowing the restraining order to be in place that should have never been in place, and then now they're extending it based on the fact that Sophie's not had any contact because of these laws and things that they have placed on her, and then they're extending it because again she still hasn't. It's a battle you can't win. And I think the only reason why they don't give a shit is because these people were obviously raised in farms, where before they were human, they were obviously raised in farms. They've obviously had their children taken off them many, many times. And so the fact that a mother wants to contact her child, why should they? I mean, if they've been brought up in a farm and never had and didn't have contact with their children after they got sort of once they started feeding without breast milk, they never see their children again. And so I feel like the subconsciousness of these judges must be from farms, because that makes sense to me. George's subconscious, I think he was a bear. I think he was a bear in his past life. I think he's also been a human as well. He's probably been a human 3 times, I think. Although I think he's actually quite a fast developer, considering he's only had 3 lives. I think most people, when they've had 3 lives, are pretty stupid. Whereas I think he's had 3, but I think he's developed fairly fast. But he's still a bit behind when it comes to sensitivity and stuff like that. I think he's come from the bear and the snake line, hence why a mother bear. I think he was a female bear, and I think that's where his possessionness of children comes from. But yeah, I think if you understand that humans have evolved from animals, you might be able to understand the psychology of humans. And I contacted this guy. I'll just show you what it is. The page has to be refreshed. Psychology of Carl Jung with Max Noah. Yeah, I was going to go to that today, but I was just because it was about the psychology of. Let's get the page up again. Discover Jung's radical approach to psychology, explore dreams, shadows, City, and the Red Book. I don't know. I have no idea what that was. I was tempted because it was on today, and I just wanted to do something. But I'm sure there was more written about it. It seems to have. There's the details. Embark in illuminating exploration of Carl Jung groundbreaking insights into the human psyche beyond his roles as a scientist and psychologist. Jung, I can't read half of these words, trajectory led him to become a captivating figure within the New Age movement. I don't know, it sounded interesting. Joins Jungian psychologist Max. I can't read, but whatever. Just a bunch of thing is that if I wanted to go to and listen to this, I would like to hear someone's interpretation, but I would like to also have like an actual talk with people about like their theories versus mine. And if I told this person I wanted to have a meeting with him, I wrote to him asking if he would have a meeting, but he didn't respond. Yeah, I would like to talk to people who think they know anything about psychology, because I'm certain that the human psychology actually depends on what kind of animal you were before you were human, and it also depends on what kind of past life you've had as a human. If terrible things have happened to you in your past life, terrible things actually become the norm. And the idea of a father wanting the mother to have absolutely nothing to do with his children, I mean, this should be shocking to people. That the idea that a parent, I mean, it's more acceptable, I think, for a mother to reject the father, because fathers can be quite bad sometimes. They can be quite violent. They can be quite dangerous people because of extra strength. And like, even if you don't mean to hit hard, if you're a guy, you can hit hard. And so I feel like if a mother is trying to get rid of a father because the father's an alcoholic or has aggression, I feel like their cause might be slightly more valid, just because guys are generally more physically strong, and they didn't actually give birth and stuff like this. But just either way, it can work. But just his psychology of thinking that it's fine to cut the mother out and have nothing to do with the child, and then get restraining orders, so using the courts to back him up and feel like he's being supported by the courts, and then for the courts to actually allow this. The courts are allowing this separation, and then are using this separation as evidence as to how Sophie should have more separation. And then because there's been more separation, they're again using it for more. And then they're just trying to, I don't even know what they're doing, but I think these people are mad. I think they're absolutely insane. Anyone that would allow a restraining order based on absolutely nothing. Where's the evidence that Sophie's a danger? Where's the evidence that Sophie's going to be calling up every week? Where's the evidence that Sophie even calls for more than 5 minutes? When I talk to her, she just says yes, 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 and then I run out of things to say and I have to say goodbye. So if you knew anything about my sister, you would realize that she's not going to be harassing him for long periods of time. She'll ring it up, say, "Can I see my son?" He'll be like, "No." And she'll be like, "Okay," and put the phone down. And I mean, that would probably be the extent of her conversation. And then it's just I don't know why he's acting in the way that he's acting, and I don't know why the courts think that this is normal behavior. But this is not what I would consider to be human behavior. This is what I would consider to be animal behavior. And I think this is, if people knew that the psychology of humans actually extends from animal behavior and the soul being once in an animal body, I think people would understand the human psyche better, and they wouldn't be talking about like, well, as a species we're like this, and as a species we're like this, and we also do this and also do this. Because I'm listening to that thinking, yeah, not everyone's like that, not everyone's like that, and not everyone's like that. And yeah, I could link a lot of, I could link me to some stuff as well. Like, I know why I am a certain way, but I am a certain way because of my past experiences. And if you've had different past experiences, then that's going to change you again. And if you've had 20 lives, you're probably going to be a far more person full of character and individuality, and also different views. You'll be able to see different opinions of different, because you've had so much life experience, but not just that, but subconscious life experience. This is what changes and develops. And it would be really annoying to listen to a lecture where someone goes on about how they know the sort of details of the human psyche, when really that they don't have a clue. But anyway, I've got a face mask on. It's only just that I had a little bit left in the pack, so I was just like, I'm going to use this up.